Hey everybody, so welcome back to Jim Bob's Garden. Today we're going to start planting potatoes. And one of the things I do before I plant or what I've done in the past, and I'm not 100% how much better it does, but I do believe it's a little bit better, so we're going to go ahead and do it. Alright, so we're going to prep our potatoes up for planting. Now we've kept some of these potatoes in the fridge, or not in the fridge, I'm sorry, kept them in the pantry for a long time now. So they've all started to sprout. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to cut these potatoes into chunks. Now, I can take and plant this whole potato, and I will get probably one potato plant, but each one of these eyes, if you look at these eyes, like right here's an eye, right there where my fingertip is, that's an eye. Alright, where it's sprouting out, that's an eye. Each of these little indentations are eyes, and you can see that they're actually starting to get a little bit of like white growth in there. Each one of those is potentially a new potato plant. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these up while my wife slowly drags the hose out from underneath me. Anyway, so we're going to cut them up, and that way the idea is that I want to be able to get multiple potato plants out of this one potato. It's a nice big fat potato. Now what I would usually do, as you hear the train in the background, yes, we have trains here too, trains, planes, and automobiles, is I'm going to try and cut this to where I have one or two sections, or two or three sections out of each potato, alright, and keeping what's actually growing already intact, as well as trying to get at least 3 eyes on each chunk. So I'm going to take this one here, because I've got an eye here, I've got eyes here, here, and there. And I'm going to kind of cut it at somewhat of an angle like so. Now you want at least a couple of inches of thickness for the potato. Alright, so that's what I've come up with. There's my chunk of potato. And then I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to continue to cut. Now in this section I've got growth here, and I got growth there. I want at least 3 eyes, so I'm going to cut this one like so. Alright. And I got at least a couple inches of thickness on each potato, and we're going to let them set. Alright. So again, we want at least 3 eyes, and if you've got growth, like I've got growth on this potato, we want to go ahead and make sure that we get some of that growth. And on this one, because I have 3 different areas growing, I'll be able to get good growth on all of them. So I got that chunk right there, and then I'm going to cut this chunk here, like right along this section, so that I get the growth. So I get the growth there, and I've got the growth going there. All right. So now these started growing in the pantry just from sitting in there, and you know, I'm sure if you've had potatoes in your pantry, you've seen them start to sprout out, and thought, man, I could plant those. Yes, you can. Now, I will tell you that I peel my potatoes with a potato peeler. Now, I've never tried it with the peelings from a potato peeler because they're very thin. I don't think it'll work. But my wife does it with a knife, and she leaves just a little bit of meat, basically, of the potato on the peelings when she takes them off. No big deal. Potatoes are cheap, right? But what's cool is we have planted those before. In other videos I've shown it, but we've actually planted those before and had potatoes sprout from peelings. So you really don't have to have a lot. But my rule of thumb is about an inch or 2 of thickness, preferably about 2 inches of thickness, or at least 1.5 inches, so that it's got plenty of meat, because it pulls from that to create the new plant. Now I do remember when I was a kid when I was doing this, because we had to help out growing the garden. I was always told 3 eyes. You want at least 3 eyes for the potato to sprout well. But again, we've done it with potato peeling, so I don't know that you have to have 3 eyes, but it's a good rule of thumb to go by. So I try and find a good sized chunk that has at least 3 eyes on it. Alright, and then we're going to go ahead and turn that in. So now I had 3 potatoes, but now I have 9 potato seeds, as you will. Now I will tell you, I went looking at seed potatoes. And seed potatoes, there was 6 in a bag and it was $6. So basically the seed potatoes are like $1 a piece. For $6 you can buy 10 pounds of potatoes. And there's probably what, I don't know, 40, 50? You divide each of those into 3, you're talking what, 120 versus, you know, approximately 120 to 150 potato plants that you could be growing from that bag of potatoes versus getting potato seed or seed potatoes 6 for $6. And they're small potatoes, so you pretty much got to plant the whole thing. Can't really plant, or you might be able to cut them, depending on how many eyes there are. But either way, you can't really plant, you know, a whole lot of those. I'm not going to get 150 of them, all right, basically. So I just buy a bag of potatoes, I cut them up, and boom, I throw them in the garden once they've skinned over. Now what the idea is, and I'm doing this video today, and then we'll plant. Tomorrow is Valentine's Day. I'm going to come out and check them the day after Valentine's, and if they've scabbed over pretty well, then I'll go ahead and plant them. The idea is, what we want to do is, see how that nice white, very moist area right there? That can cause rot, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to set this out, not in the sun, but we're going to just let it sit out. And then the idea is this will kind of skin over, all right? So that basically it'll seal that edge off, and we'll have a less likelihood of a potato plant, or a seed essentially, rotting away. Because it does happen when you plant your potatoes that they will rot if you just stick them in the ground after you've cut them like this. Some of them, not very many. I mean, most of them will still continue to grow, particularly ones that have already got growth going. All right, so we're going to do this. I've got a spot over here where I'm going to sit them out and let them dry, and then we will continue on here in a couple of days. All right, so we're back. It's been almost a week now. Actually, today would be a week. Yeah, so it's been a week. Rain, this, that, the other thing, yada yada, so on and so forth. And we did not get to planting our potatoes when we wanted to. But I want to show you. So you can see on this potato, which hopefully you can see well, still got the growth there. It's still okay. It's a little bit shriveled, still kind of solid. So you still got enough to support that growth. It is skinned over on this side, so that hopefully it won't get to rotting right away. All right, so that's the goal. That's what this whole, you know, letting them sit out and skin over is all about, is hopefully getting them to where they won't rot in the ground as a seed. All right, so I got my bucket full. I've got 40 of them, and I got this whole bed essentially to go ahead and get them planted in the ground. So what I'm going to do, all right, so how to plant them. First off, you want to have your potatoes, your seeds, your potato seeds, as it were. We want to have them about 1 foot apart minimum, with about 1 foot between rows minimum. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make 2 rows down here. All right, now let me explain. So with that being said, one of the things you want to do is called mounding. So you want to leave enough space to where you can gather the dirt from either side as the potato starts to grow and get tall, and bring that dirt up to the stalk of the potato plant itself, and then it'll start putting out more tubers on the sides up the side of that plant. All right, usually do that when they're about 1 foot tall. I'll bring up about 3 inches and slowly keep mounding it up, mounding it up. I'll also use compost when I do that to continue to mount. So with that being said, I want to give myself plenty of space. So what I'm probably going to do is I'm just going to do 2 rows here, about this far apart. All right, about 1.5 feet from my row of rutabagas, which only part of them came up, and from my my border here. Now, how to plant them? You want to plant them about 3 to 4 inches. Some people say 6 inches, but I think it takes a little longer if you do that. I'm going to plant mine about 3 inches deep. Now, each knuckle of a finger is about 1 inch. So 1, 2, 3. So basically about a finger's depth. All right, thereabouts. is what I'm going to go for. Now, some people tell you to dig a trench. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set my potatoes out, and then I'm going to go around, I'm going to dig a hole, stick potato in, cover it back up. Now, prepping. One of the things about potatoes is it's a root vegetable. So you got to have kind of loose soil. You don't have to. It's better if you have nice loose soil. So I went ahead, even though I don't normally do this, I went ahead and rototilled in this area because I have a lot of roots in this area. And that chopped up a lot of the roots so that hopefully I'll have a better chance of getting the potatoes back out. Because one of the issues is if you got a ton of roots and other stuff, you can't really dig to bring your potatoes up. Now, do you have to plant them in the ground? No, a lot of people will plant them in grow pots or just any pot, and you can do that. Though I tried a grow bag and I wasn't real successful with that. Just might have been me. The other way you can do it is a lot of people will just lay mulch over the top of your potatoes, like straw mulch, and then just keep mounting that mulch up, and the potatoes will grow in the mulch. Now, that would be a lot easier to pull back up, especially if you got really hard clay soil. All right, but one, I don't have easy access to straw. All right, wheat doesn't grow in Florida. All right, well, we don't grow wheat in Florida, so you don't get a lot of straw availability. It's got to get shipped in, and that makes it expensive. And if I'm going to spend a lot of money growing potatoes, I might as well just buy them because they're actually pretty cheap. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to use compost and soil to mound mine up and hopefully get them to grow. All right. And then I'm going to dig each individual hole, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my potatoes and I'm going to drop them about where I want them. All right. Now, do you have to till your soil? No, you don't. That's up to you. You can do whatever you want because it's your garden. I did it because, like I said, this soil had a lot of roots, and soil had a lot of roots, and we had issues with it being kind of compacted. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then I'll adjust it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. All right. Now, with that, you know, kind of got a basic idea where I want them. I'm going to take and spread them out a little more, kind of adjust, so I know where I'm going to put each one. 2, let's spread these out a little more. And you don't want it too close to your fence or your border, as it, you know, whatever you got going on there. And then the last thing I want to tell you is when you plant these, if you have growth, put the growth up. All right. If you don't have growth and all you have is eyes, put the eyes up. All right. If you're doing it without developing the skin, without letting them cure, then go ahead and just plant them with the cut side down, eyes up to where the eye, because that's where the growth is going to come from. It's going to sprout from there and then go up, and that's where your plant's going to come from. All right. And like I said, I'm going to dig. I'm just going to dig with my hand, and I'm going to go about 3 inches deep, about a finger length. Stick that in there and cover it up. All right. Simple as that. And have a nice loose soil. Makes that a lot easier. Obviously. See, this is the problem. I got a lot of these roots. I got trees all around, and that's what causes that. I'm gonna go down there, put the eyes up. Now, the last thing I'll tell you is, do I have an eye? Be patient. All right, potatoes take a while to not only form, but also to grow. So you got to give it some time. It's not going to happen right away. And that's why a lot of places, they'll tell you to go ahead and plant in January, because you should get sprouting happen sometime in February. All right. All right, I'm going to go ahead and finish this up, get the rest of them planted. But that's how I'm going to go about planting my potatoes. Get them all planted up, and hopefully each of these mounds will have about 1 pound to 1.5 pounds, maybe 2 pounds of potatoes each. If that happens, you know, I don't know, what was it, 40, 36 is 12, so just over a dozen potatoes, and I should get hopefully 40, 50 pounds of potatoes. All right, thanks for stopping by. Do me a favor, give me a like and a subscribe, and let me know what you think. But most importantly, grow something. You can grow potatoes in your backyard, either in a bag or in a pot, or even in your garden. All right, y'all take care now. Come back and see me.